Welcome to the Market Genius AI podcast. This is our RevTech edition of the show, where we showcase go-to-market tools and discuss trends, strategies, and development with leaders of those tools.
All right. In this episode, our guest is Antoine Ford, the CEO of Qobra, and Nicolas Rouzel, the head of partnership and product marketing. This is great to have you on, guys.
Yeah, welcome. Excited to be chatting about sales compensation and what you guys are doing. So let's dive right in. Give us the elevator pitch.
Yes. Thank you very much, Lizzie. Thank you very much, Dimitris, for having us. We're really glad to be part of this show. So we work with RevOps and commercial finance teams at tech companies that have 50 reps or plus, like 11 Labs, Content Square, Go Cardless, Go On, but also 200 companies almost, where they're exhausted by countless hours of commission calculation, errors, disputes, sales reps that don't trust the system. So that's why we built Qobra, a platform that automatically computes reliable and transparent commission. And, unlike legacy solutions like Exactly or Salesforce Spiff, we have an approach where we're really easy to use, super available customer support, and that allowed us to be recognized from the market with the momentum leader badge from G2 recently.
That's awesome. I'm excited to dive in and see what the user interface looks in the easy to use nature. I'm curious, so you guys have been around for almost 5 years now, I think. How did Qobra get started? What's the founder story there?
Yes. So actually, I did not experience myself commission spreadsheets, neither as a RevOps nor as a sales rep. But I've been working in business development in a company in New York where I was also doing my studies. And that's where I met with salespeople. And the reality is, as an engineer, I try to find out what things could be automated for sales organization, what systems could bring more productivity. And it's just a lot of curiosity. There's a little bit of luck also, should I say. But curiosity brings luck. And thanks to that curiosity, I was able to discuss with a lot of either founders or VP of sales or sales reps that were complaining about the way their compensation was handled. And then looking at the markets, we saw that there was a few different companies created in the 20 years ago that got public, and the user experience was declining. And we saw that as an opportunity. We also saw that there was a few other companies, so raising money in the US while we are based in Europe. So we first saw an Europe opportunity. And then as we grew, we realized that our customers were really, really happy with the product, that we were able to be on par and then even better than what other providers, including recent ones, were able to build. And, 5 years later, here we are.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it's rare to find a company or a sales team that's like, my quota and compensation is handled flawlessly. And so
Never happened to me. Never, ever happened to me.
Did you ever use Qobra though?
No.
Yeah, exactly. So there's, I think, a lot of opportunity in that space. And I'm excited to see how you guys are thinking about it. So what's kind of been the journey from there? Where are you in terms of financing, and are you looking to do any other fundraising in the near term? Or
So we raised 15 million so far, seed round 5 million 3 years ago, and we raised our Series A 18 months ago with Singular. The seed round was with Brigger.
Yep.
So we are growing really quickly. We are seeing traction also everywhere in the world. And for that reason, we are still very bullish, investing. The next logical step for us is to raise a Series B.
and any plans around that, or waiting and seeing how revenue goes?
The biggest the revenue, the biggest the valuation. So as long as you can keep
As long as
going,
you can make it. Yeah.
it's better to wait. But you should expect something probably in the next 12 months.
That's very exciting. So do we want to dive in and see what use case you guys are looking to share with us today?
Yeah, exactly. What do you want to share with us?
I've prepared 2 use cases. The first one, I want to connect as a sales rep just to show you how transparent the platform is. Also how we provide motivation to the sales reps. And the other side of the tool, like the admin part, so you can check how we build a comp plan, what kind of reports you can build from Qobra. So here I'm connected as a sales rep. Really, our goal at Qobra is to provide maximum transparency to the end users because we want to reduce the dispute, but also to motivate them. So this is basically the dashboard. This is where they can see their performance over the different periods. They can navigate directly from here, check the KPIs that the admin has set up, like forecast, acceleration curve, ranking, anything. So this is really to give a high-level view on their commission, but where it gets exciting is in the statements. Each statement in Qobra is always composed the same. You have the different commission item at the top, and when you scroll to the bottom, you can find all the data that has been taken into account to compute the bonuses. So we're connected to Salesforce here, so I can see the different deals, the ARR, the deal commission that has been computed with transparency on the formula. And then above, I have a clean synthesis of the calculation made. So we really want the seller to be able to understand every step of the calculation process, to check the status of the deal, and also to have a clean synthesis above. So when Antoine was talking about reducing the disputes, this is what we offer. And if there is some disputes, of course, we have like a discussion channel directly inside the tool, but I'm not going to deep dive on that. But let me go through the admin parts. So let me connect again to admin session. So we also want to solve the issue of the RevOps companies, finance teams, just because automating the calculation of bonuses can be tricky. So we have designed a tool that is seamlessly connected to all your sources. So we can connect to Salesforce, HubSpot, of course, and any other source like databases, but also HRS systems. So this is it to get the data you need to calculate the commissions. Then we input some values, the quotas, the target achievement, the OT, anything that is useful for the calculation. And where I want to show you something is the compensation plan design. So I think this is where the tool is the most powerful. So let's deep dive in a compensation plan just to show you how it looks. Every time you create a commission, you allocate people in, just saying, okay, this comp plan is valid from the 1st of January to this month, etc. And then you design the compensation items. When you go in the compensation item, this is where you calculate the bonus. So if I compare it to Excel, the first step would be to filter the data you need. So here and in any other place in the tool, we have a no-code application, meaning that you don't need to code to build your reports, to build the commissions. So here, as you can see, it's really easy to set up. I just want to take the owner as a statement employee, close date is year to date, stage is close one, and this is where you build the rules about the commission. You can input like the forecast also if you want to put the hot stuff, etc. So again, it's no code. So anytime I need to apply a formula, I can just type at any variable by @ and I can bring it into the calculation, applying condition if necessary. We really want the RevOps to be able to step up in the tool really fast and to be able to build complaints in minutes instead of hours in Excel. And then the step 2 is really easy, just about displaying the relevant KPI to the sales. So it's basically a synthesis of the step 1. And yeah, that's it. And then finally, step 3, you select the variable you want to pay. And finally, the dashboard. This is where you can find back the KPIs I've shown in the sales rep section. Again, it's really easy to set up. You just select anything you need and it brings up to the dashboard of the sale. Finally, just showing you the results. As an admin, you have access to all the statements of the company, not as a sales reps, of course. And whatever you built in the previous parts, you can see it here. You can click anywhere to figure out what was the calculation, allowing you to verify and check the amounts, making sure that everything is aligned with your compensation plan, making sure also that the sales are aligned because you can ask them validation, etc. And finally, since Qobra becomes the source of truth with the performance, because performance of core has to be accurate if you want to calculate good commissions, we also have the accurate targets. So from there, you can build relevant reporting if you want to track like the performance by country, checking how much they are like overperformers by country. If you want to check like a full ladder of the AEs, who is overperforming, who is underdoing, etc. It's really helpful when it comes to analyzing the commissions. I've talked a lot. I don't know if you have questions on.
We are here to ask these questions. Of course, we have questions. So based on your conversations with the customers right now, like what are the typical questions and concerns that they have and they're trying to address with your system?
I would say the first thing they usually ask is, are we able to input our terrible rules inside the tool? So we are able to implement any rule as complex as it is in a simple way. So this is what we are helping them to do. In Excel, it's a nightmare. In Qobra, it becomes really seamless and easy to set up, I'd say.
Okay, so they have a very complicated metrics definition, and they say, "Hey, look, it's so bad, it's so shitty in the sheets that I just have enough. I want to move to your system. Can you handle it?" And then you say, "Hey, we can do all of that." That's a bold statement.
And we can make it real time
Okay,
also.
okay. So one thing from my experience is that the sellers sometimes they don't understand these metrics. Not in a kind of mechanical way. They just don't understand why that metric is implemented in general. How do you educate your customers to handle this?
Yeah. So the whole goal of Qobra is to bring clarity to complexity. It's normal when you're a company that is growing to have complex complaints. Why? Because the business gets complex. You have multi products. You're on different geographies. It gets complex. But the reps, they need to understand that very crystal clear, because if it's not, you lose a huge aspect of motivation. So typically, when companies run compensation spreadsheets, you've got these horrible formulas, just numbers everywhere. But what doesn't show is, for example, payout curves. So maybe we can show one, exactly this one. So what's behind these charts is a tiered formula where, depending on your target achievements, you would get a certain percentage of commission. If you explain it like this, so when I say like this, it's with the PDF or with a spreadsheet, saying that it works like the government taxes, nobody's gonna understand that. But if you show it like this on the screen to the reps, it gets much easier. So this is really how we manage to bring clarity, driving behavior, and motivation to the reps.
Yeah, I think this is one of the key elements that are eroding the trust between the reps, sales team, and the company. Sometimes these metrics are not maybe wrongly set up when you even calculate in Excel. People just don't understand them, and it's for a prolonged time. And that is resulting, okay, look, I think somebody's cheating on me. And then suddenly you have a bunch of reps that's trying to calculate their own commissions, sending you a bunch of stuff that is just nonsense. And then you spending another week or so just to explain to them and walking them through, right, in Excel, like, hey, this is how you do it, right, this and that. I mean, of course you can do some examples, you can mitigate the risk of that, in some presentations. I've done that, right? But it's an extra effort that you got to put in while you guys already have a playbook for this, right? So that is absolutely great. So the question for you I have is, sometimes reps just coming back and say, hey, if I look at my pipeline and I have this deal and that deal, I know this is coming, and can you help me to calculate how I'm going to land with my commissions for the rest of the quarter, a month, or a year? You guys have any kind of prediction tool here that you can relate to?
We have different ways to do it. I wouldn't say it's predictive, but we can bring some data from Salesforce or any other CRM database, but any data that is not especially used for the final bonus amounts, but can be put in a forecast. So for example, here, if I take a basic example to explain what I'm saying, here for Craig, I can look at the deals that are not closed won yet and look at the amount he would earn if he closed the deal. So that's one way to display to the reps. We can display the pipeline, apply the compensation rules on the pipeline, and showing them how much they could earn for each deal, so they know where to put the effort, right? So this is the first way to do it. And we also have a simulation tool that they can use to just bring in a deal, change some parameters, and check how much they would earn if they close it. That's also something possible.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic. That is great. So what are the kind of critical metrics that users or buyers should pay attention to? Like, do you have any specific guidance around how to set them up, to avoid errors or avoid more questions? Any ideas?
Yeah, I think we were talking about a very, very complex complaint before. I think the first thing we advise is to make the complaint as easy as possible. Even if we're able to manage complexity, the simpler the plan is, the better. Of course, even if RevOps struggle to understand the plan and to implement the rules, you can imagine that the sales rep also will really struggle to understand the complaint. So what we really recommend is to keep things simple and to keep their plan motivated for the reps. So we really want them to stick to 2 or 3 KPIs, really align with the strategy, and that's it. Keep it simple.
Yeah, I would add 2 things on top of that buyers should really pay attention to. The first one is what we call shadow accounting. So how much time do the reps spend calculating their own commission? And this can be a big productivity gap. And the second one is it's hard to calculate it, but so inaccurate commission statements, if you calculate them in spreadsheets, inaccuracies will happen. Eventually, that's for sure. If you're paying, I don't know, 10 millions a year in commission because you have a large sales team, there's maybe 300, 400, 500K of errors that you're making a year. And this is a big problem for finance teams. So these 2 items are really critical as you grow.
Yeah, and are you helping RevOps teams and finance teams come up with the plan itself? I saw that you have some forecasting to see like how much the payout would be, but are there any recommendations or templates that you provide that help them draft up a simple plan?
Yeah, this is really part of the customer success offer that we have. So when you get onboarded, we first start with something that is like an audit of the current commission plan. So we go through them and we can make recommendations. This is not market practice. You should kill it. You don't have accelerators, and we would recommend you to have some. So this is what we can do during the onboarding, and then throughout the whole life of the clients as a customer of Qobra, especially every new fiscal year when you're rebuilding the plan. This is where we can help, and we also have partners that are dedicated consulting agencies that can invest more time with the customers to come up with a good complaint. And that on top of all the content that we have on our website, the blog, with the guides to follow to come up with a great complaint.
I'm curious, are you able to handle spiffs? So, yep, you have a plan set up, new product comes out. Oh, we want to run a spiff for this product. There
Yeah.
you go.
As a compensation plan incentive tool, we of course have a specific feature to handle spiffs because it's key when you launch a new product indeed, or you want to generate pipeline at the beginning of the quarter, anything. We have a spiff feature that allows you to track like who is first. You have a full leaderboard where you can check the ranking of everyone, what is the reward. Again, the setup is not more complex than what we've shown earlier, but the idea is that you can rank people between them. And here I've only put financial rewards, but of course you can also sometimes get people a restaurant, something like this, Michelin star restaurant, anything.
Yeah.
It's a really great feature that our customers love. So thanks for us.
You could take a screenshot of that and throw it in your stand-up, and yeah, that's awesome.
And even the reps, they have like quick notification every time their ranking evolves, they are notified. So yeah, it's really about making gamification inside the tool.
Yeah, that's how you motivate sales reps.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a competitive space, right? So anything that is around the ranking, I think, is helping. I mean, I really like the fact that you approach this from the spiff perspective as well, and you took it to the next level, because sometimes even tracking this is a pain, right? And you adding also visibility to the users, the sellers itself, so they can see how they really perform on that, solving another problem that you probably can't solve in Excel. So I want to ask you a question about the collaborations. Collaboration for me is always a big thing, right? So I'm always trying to triangulate this between the sales team and then the leaders, right? The VP of sales, CRO. But also you mentioned finance. This is always a big partner for me, but also HR. Like HR is another function that needs to be looked in. I'm assuming you guys figure that out, right? Like how to ensure that these 3 teams, they can work together, 4 teams can work together in this place together with RevOps.
We have different ways to manage it in the platform. If that's the question, it's more product question, but we really want the platform to be accessible to all the roles. So we've thought the platform for them. I would say they have different expectations from Qobra, but what align all the teams is the closing payroll, making sure that everything is accurate. So I would say usually the RevOps team build the plan, but sometimes finance also. And then we imagine like a statement validation workflow, that's what we call it, to make sure that everything is aligned. So we have different steps. There is the log, validation by the manager, rep, and even finance can close the payroll. We really build a flexible workflow to make sure that it fits the needs of all of our customers. And we also, when it comes to data analysis, provide reports at different level. It can be reports for the managers if they want to see like the ranking of their reps, who is performing, who is behind the target, as I shown, but also some bonus control things. Is the pay plan effective or not? We can check the percentage of OT payment compared to the achievement, making sure that, okay, the comp plan works well or not, which is great for finance. We can also analyze deal by deal how much we paid commission. So finance is happy because they can track the cost per segment, per type of customers. So we really have a platform that helps all the teams to be involved in controlling the commissions.
Yeah, reports is a big part for finance because they really want to understand the profitability of the go-to-market. And then another item is integrations. We have HR and finance systems integrations to make sure that it's seamless for them.
Okay, so I think you guys just covered a lot of that stuff that I would normally check, on the collaboration side, because this is a key element for RevOps, right? We are in such a pivotal role that you have to work with everybody, literally with everybody. So anything that is automating or is allowing you to create the custom workflow with each of these functions, that's extremely helpful. That is saving you a lot of time. It's improving your communication. And you're probably checking for just validation of these things before you press the release, right? So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Kind of moving into like how you're going to market and how that is evolving. You mentioned 50 plus sales reps, mainly at tech companies. I'm curious if you've seen that evolve at all. Like, are smaller companies looking to do this? Are you seeing any action outside of tech? What is that looking like right now?
Yeah, the ideal customer profile is a software company that has 50 plus sales reps that is using Salesforce or HubSpot or Snowflake, and that has a RevOps team where compensation is one of the missions.
Hot topics. Yeah.
Yeah. So this would be the ideal customer profile. Why? Because they will care about what we do and we have the good solution for them. So 11 Labs, Go Cardless, Content Square, these are like top few logos for us, and we're just like the right solution for them. We also have traditional companies from other industries in our customer base. So for example, automotive car dealerships, they have a lot of sales reps. We've got also pharmaceuticals companies such as AstraZeneca, Boehringer, medical devices with Henry Schein, public company, and a few other ones. And what they share in common is relying on large sales teams that have high bonuses. So technically, any industry with large sales teams and high bonuses would be a great fit for us.
And do you have like a maximum? Like, it sounds like you're working with a lot of enterprise companies as well. So it's not just mid-market, but you're handling this for pretty large companies.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we started with mid-market because it allowed us to have a quick feedback loop, improving the product, not doing too many on-demand specific stuff, which can harm you in the long run. But now we are seeing that we have sales teams of 1,000, 2,000 sales reps on the platform. So it starts to really be maybe the low end of enterprise, but still like very big companies that do like billions, dozens of billions of turnover revenue every year.
Yeah.
So we started in market and are moving
slowly but surely moving up as well. That's very exciting. I'm assuming anytime, if someone's coming to you and they're looking for a compensation tool, you're going head to head most likely with Spiff and Exactly and others. How are you differentiating yourself and what are you bringing up in those conversations to win that deal?
So, and obviously, being the founder of Exactly, it's an awesome journey. He created like an amazing company. They went public. Spiff got acquired by Salesforce. So these are companies that inspire us and push us to become better. The way I see the market today is there is two main buckets of, I would even say three, of companies in the sales compensation space. Even Spiff now, with the acquisition of Salesforce, they are historically very enterprise, very flexible, but you need professional services a lot to make it work.
Yeah.
And this is fine to some companies, but the 11 Labs, Go Cardless, Go On, and they want something that will just work and that they can handle seamlessly. So we differentiate from these players by the way you set up the plans, like Nicolas showed during the demo, which is way quicker. Like we can onboard almost any company within a month, which is almost impossible for the other players I mentioned.
You're saying Salesforce tools aren't easy to onboard?
No. No, yeah, it became even a running joke, So yeah, and then there is another bucket of some players that had a very SMB approach. So self-serve, and they are really great for small companies, but you need to follow their way of doing. So there is like kind of an opinionated way to build the plans, and if you don't do things exactly like they allow you to do, you just won't be able. So when companies grow past 50 reps, typically the threshold, we see them switching from these SMB players to us. And I think that our positioning, which is being the most balanced between flexibility and easiness of use, is what will be the
What's
right
winning
positioning.
out.
Yeah.
But you're not so prescriptive. Like I've run into this with sales comp of like we operate on media revenue and SaaS revenue. Well, that's two different buckets. How does that fit into self-serve targeted offering? So that makes a lot of sense.
And there is this book from Peter Thiel called 0 to 1, and he talks about last mover advantage. Because when you just think, if you're not initiated to, let's say building company entrepreneurship, you always think, okay, the first one gets everything. If you're the first, you win. You're the first, you have the idea, you win. But what he'd say in his book is, it's if you're the last one to stand that you win. Not being the first one to have launch, we were able to learn about the mistakes of the other platforms, and we were able to find what we believe is the right way to handle sales compensation. And maybe there were other players that will launch or that are launching now that we don't know yet about, and that will manage to be even better in the next few years, maybe. But I really believe in this last mover advantage, and I think we're succeeding, and we can see that because players are switching from competitors to us.
Yeah, you get to go and especially you mentioned like working with mid-market companies, create some design partners through that and really build a product that's solving for something that other companies are not right now. So I like that approach and that mindset. I'm curious how you're winning new business or getting leads in. Are you seeing a lot of people? You mentioned like they're using those SMB products and then coming to you, or are you doing a lot of outbound sales? Is there still like an educational curve around what's available to solve sales compensation? Or what does that look like?
Yeah, so there's really two different markets. Europe and the US is definitely not the same. In terms of evangelization on our topic, it's very, very different. So historically, we've been at 70% outbound. And at the beginning, I was myself doing the cold calls. I wasn't even sending any email I was just doing cold calls because that's the best way to have conversation and also feedback. And you just cold call works. You need to do a lot, but if you do a lot, it works. And very recently, because this 70% outbound was consistent over the first few years of the company, but very recently we saw a big switch. And now it's 70% coming from inbound, or at least marketing generated opportunities. So whether through now SEO working really well, or G2.com, where we are now top, I think we were always the highest performer and the number one momentum leader. So this brings a lot of traffic. We've got like 700 reviews, something like this. We worked a lot to be there with like just reviews from our customers. And we also improved the way we capture intent data, people on our websites, content, and so on. So this brought a lot of inbound. So now it completely switched the model,
It's a nice change to have. It's nice to have more inbound than outbound. So that's very exciting.
The sales reps are happy.
Yes, indeed. You mentioned a little bit before about having service provider partners with RevOps agencies. I'm curious to hear about tech partnerships too. But Nicholas, I'd love to hear a little bit about what that services partnerships is looking like and how they're helping probably bring in new opportunities, but also servicing.
Yeah, so we want to partner indeed with the RevOps agencies, because sometimes when we prospect some companies, we see that they are struggling with their compensation rules, and they sometimes think Qobra will solve all the problems, but that's not the case. Sometimes we need to partner with RevOps agencies to help them really design powerful compliance, also streamline the data, because if the data is not right in the CRM, it becomes a nightmare also in Qobra. So we really want to push the partners during the sales cycle. And also after, when we have some customers that are facing also issues during their lifetime with us, we work closely with RevOps agencies. And the other type of partners we have is I would say, more traditional partners that are consulting agencies for rewards. I think they are building really a lot of compensation plans for traditional enterprise companies. We want them to push Qobra at the end of their project, just saying, okay, you have a nice plan. Now, how will you animate this? How you make people understand it? How you will really leverage this powerful tool? So this is the two kind of partnerships we have.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear what you're seeing with RevOps agencies. We've had a few on the podcast, obviously. I think we're seeing a trend where, especially mid-market companies, are outsourcing some of their RevOps. They're not building all their resources in-house. And so are you guys seeing a similar thing?
We have some companies, yes, that really don't want to automate themselves the compensations. Thus, they prefer to externalize completely this process. So we see this trend indeed, but this is not the most of our clients, I'd say. But yes, sometimes we also call some partners to help us, like, okay, you want to outsource, you want to have full services, white gloves, maintenance of the solution. No worries, we got your back.
That's the ideal, especially if it's someone you work with quite a bit. So that's an exciting trend, I'm sure, for you guys to embed yourselves with a few of those companies. What about on the tech partnership side? I saw you have HR tools, you obviously have CRMs, you have finance tools. There's like the tried and true players in all those spaces. Are you seeing new ones pop up, or are there any other partnerships that you're eager to add in terms of integration?
So we really want to be close to the CRMs, HubSpot and Salesforce. These are the two main ones. Since most of our customers push their data from their CRM, we really want to be close to them. We are also always listening to the markets. So we've seen like a little CRM named Atio. We really want to be close to them. But for the moment, I would say we really put our efforts on the big ones, let's say.
And are you pushing data back into HubSpot and Salesforce? Like, can a rep see their comp information in there?
It's possible to do it also, yeah. We can push back the commission information directly into the tool.
Great. I'm somewhat familiar with Salesforce, HubSpot bidirectional integrations with an ABM tool. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah. I mean, this is great. I mean, the fact that you can have a seamless integrations is already a win. in a lot of these conversations. So let's switch gears a little bit into what is the head of your product and how do you see your roadmap? What is the big thing you're going to work on?
So compensation itself is already like quite a big topic, and there's a ton of things that can be achieved where we can add value on top of just automating the process. For example, we launched a feature called target letters that will allow you to automate all the process of creating these PDF documents that you need to get the reps sign them before launching the new comp plan or when they leave or something like this. Items like this, there's a few other ones that are already, I should say, part of this sales compensation big picture. So we're building a lot of stuff here. But what we see as the next step for us is sales performance management by opposition to sales compensation management. We realize that now there's a lot of our customers that use Qobra not only to monitor the compensation, but also just to check their numbers, like the performance numbers. So a rep would go in Qobra more than in Salesforce to check pipeline, for example, or achievement. And it's a bit the same for managers or for RevOps. When we started to dig, we realized that a lot of companies don't find Salesforce or even BI tools as really the right way to monitor sales performance in many ways. And there is spreadsheets everywhere, which shocked me a bit at the beginning because, at first, when we were really at the beginning of the company, some prospect told us, okay, you do compensation, but can you also do monitoring of my pipeline, monitoring of my sales performance? And we were pushing back. Why? Because we only had a small feature set at the beginning and we didn't want to be disappointing. So we said, no, do that in your Salesforce or in your BI tool and use Qobra for sales compensation. But now that we are bigger, now that we have more features, now that we're able to handle customers at scale, we really see an opportunity there.
I think a lot of sales performance tools are kind of going towards, hey, can we monitor conversations that reps are having from Gong and give like more qualitative feedback to, or are you going to just be looking at the numbers themselves?
So there will be consolidation in the sales tool space.
There's too many.
There's many, and you've got conversation intelligence, you've got sales cadencing, you've got sales forecasting, you've got sales planning, you've got sales compensation. You can even have some dedicated gamification softwares. There's also things that are in between sales and HR, such as performance MBO, but for sales reps. So there's a lot of different categories everywhere. And there will be consolidation at some point, that's for sure. But speaking about Gong, I think it's still quite far from where we want to go. Like, we won't do conversation intelligence software and they won't do a sales compensation in the pretty long future. And on the sales performance management, we really see an opportunity to take. And maybe this will bring us closer from these players at some point. And maybe they will themselves get closer from us. And I believe that when such will happen, it's going to be a good opportunity to have synergies or partnerships or consolidation. Because at the moment, we are still quite separated. Like, we're in some space, not that much elsewhere.
Yeah, it's definitely a domain dominance game as of now. But it was definitely with AI that you have opportunities to get faster into the adjacent category or just start covering other areas, right? Like, it's just another technology that is allowing you, enabling you to do this. But let me go back to the earlier point about the preference around the sales performance management, because that's really interesting to me. Where do you think this is coming from? You think it's because the sellers they like to log in every day and they checking the deals and how much of that commission is coming, that's a little bit more incentivizing to log in and check than doing the Salesforce. Come on, I mean, the manager is telling me to do this.
It's just more appealing to plug in Qobra instead of Salesforce. You just need to look at what Salesforce looks like. And I think that makes a difference. But also, Salesforce really became more a data warehouse dedicated to sales. And it's really great at doing this, but sales reps tends to more and more do stuff outside of Salesforce. So, for example, if you want to look at your deal, find signals if your deal is going in the right direction or not, you don't log into Salesforce. You log into Gong, because that's where the conversations are. That's where you can ask Gong, okay, what's going on with my deal? You can even ask for a recommendation. So since Salesforce is more and more seen as a data warehouse, and since it's very hard to set up, also to maintain, to build in it, and it's the same in BI tools. BI tools are made to be more appealing, but if you want to change something, you need to call the data team. There's an opportunity to have real interaction with the end users. And the end users are the sales reps.
And they like to have something that is also easy to understand. So to your point, Salesforce is becoming so complicated that finding something might be harder. Whereas in the kind of these other legacy systems that are operating off the Salesforce, to your point, yeah, that's already prepped for you, right? Like you just log in and you see it, right? What you want to see. So yeah, let's move on like to the kind of broader market, like where you think the market is going and sales productivity tools. Where you think the generative AI and AI in general will take us?
What I like to start with here is the challenges, because AI is here to solve challenges, not just to bring solutions. And thinking about that, I have identified three, so it's not exhaustive, but three challenges that most companies have and where AI can help. The first one is, how do you create more relevant demand? Because this is what you need to have pipeline and then revenue. The second one is, how can you save time from your sales team so that they spend more time customer facing, speaking to the clients? And the third one is how you can use data to make better decisions. And based on these challenges, I think there's a few tools or trends that seem to work really well. If you think about how you can help create more relevant demand, tools like Clay, like user-led, Cargo, these are tools that allow you to have more intelligent go-to-markets, because you map your total addressable market, you map your TAM much better, you can score it much better, you can do enrichments based on the real intents that happen on your website or elsewhere, and then you can orchestrate who will handle it based on which rules. So that way, you just don't call outbound companies that are in a list, but you have more opportunities to speak with the relevant prospects that are interested. So that's the first one. The second one, so we made a bet at Qobra 6 months ago to go back to full cycle. So we had SDRs and AEs. We promoted some SDRs to AEs. And we now have a full cycle AE team, which I like to call augmented AEs. Because thanks to tools, they only speak to people that are supposed to be interested. And also because you have tools like Nux, which is a parallel dialer. I've not tried it, but 11x or a company called Topo, AI SDRs can help you be an augmented AE and save a ton of time on prospection. So this is the second trend, which I think almost all companies should be investigating. And then, of course, like that's the obvious thing, but tools like Gong, Mojo, auto recap emails, auto filling the CRM, automatic forecasting. I think it's a must-have everywhere now. Like no rep could sell without that anymore. So this is really the main three trends. And speaking about how to make better decision, I think this is where tools also like Qobra can help, and AI can even help us go further in that direction. It's how do you take advantage of all the data that you have. So the performance reports that Nicolas showed you a bit earlier today, to just like take the right decisions.
Because I think no code has been the first step towards that like automation and making things easier for people to set up. There's a world in which like a RevOps person comes in and says, I want to design a sales plan that looks like XYZ. And based on the data you have from hundreds of companies, you can make recommendations for them potentially. But I really like the idea of augmented AEs. I haven't heard that term used before. I think we've like heard people speak to kind of that concept of can you minimize the need for SDRs? I think something that drives me nuts when I'm evaluating tools I want to use is I'm talking to like one person who doesn't really know that much, and then I get passed off to another, and I'm like, who am I talking to? And like, who does what? Who makes decisions here? Like, so I like the idea of like holding their hands through the whole process. Has that helped? Like, what has the impact on your business been moving to that motion?
More performance, more efficient. Like there's only advantages.
Yeah. Do the reps like it? Is it a different profile of reps that are able to do that, or are a lot of them able to move into that augmented AE role?
The good thing is I've always believed that reps that don't like prospecting maybe should not be doing that job. And for the past few years, some believe that they could because there was just like everyone was buying. But now that it's not the case, everyone needs to be selling.
Yeah.
And everyone needs to be prospecting. So we only have people on the team that nobody really likes to do it, but that's part of the job in order to succeed. So this is a prerequisite, I think, in terms of mindset. But they also see the advantages of being full cycle because they handle who they talk to.
Yeah.
They can work the accounts the way they want it. Like they even came and said, we support your decision because we believe it's going to be easier for us.
Yeah, and it builds a lot of trust through that experience, right? Like you build that relationship, you build that trust, you know what's been said to them the whole time, and that it's all coming from you. So I like that quite a bit.
So first question for you is like whether your team, while you were trying to introduce these tools and you bringing the reps into this augmented AE form, right? Like you trying to introduce them to these tools that are helping them to be more productive, right? There's an interest, there's intent, there's a lot of things that telling you, okay, just call them and you're going to have that right conversation. But some of these tools, they simply don't work. Like I remember one of these, I won't mention the name of the company for a lot of reasons, but I'm hearing constantly like, oh, they sold me this. It's supposed to work like they told me this is going to work, and it doesn't, and it's shit, right? So it's a very discouraging for the seller to just go and maybe if you multiply this by 50 sellers telling you the same, hey, dude, this doesn't work. So the first question was whether you experienced anything like that, right?
So I don't know if you were referring to AI SDRs. And
yes, somewhat. I won't mention the name of the company that I know. It's
the
on this list
category,
here,
let's put it the
but
category.
yeah.
We did not implement AI SDR at Qobra. So far, the tools that we've implemented all worked. There's been a lot of tools that we implemented in terms of enrichment, scoring. So it's in the ownership of our growth manager, Vincent, who's been using these tools, but it's not really sales rep facing. And then the one tool that they've been working a lot with is Nooks. Because it's a parallel dialer, it allowed them to do just like 3 times more calls for the same prospection slots.
Yeah.
But in the end, they still have control over who they speak to and what message do they deliver. Because we've not automated with the robot calling the prospects, or we've not automated the emails that are sent unless they are some, pre-written sequences that the reps agreed to send. Because we were careful about the fact that the market is not infinite and we should not burn accounts, and we should make sure that for the most ICP accounts, we deliver exactly the message that we want to deliver them. Otherwise, if you burn your ICP accounts, you need to speak to non-ICP accounts, and that's where things start to get problematic. So far, so good, to answer your question.
And you think that the tools that are creating an experience for the customers that are more of the failure on the stage 2 or stage 3 of the problem solving that they're claiming they do you think that they're gonna eventually get there on the market, or they should just completely abandon this and start going back to the drawing board and redo the product itself?
I think they will get there at some point. Not everyone, but the ones that are building these companies, they're doing something which is hard. Because if we just speak about creating a voice AI sales agent, this is really hard. But there's been a ton of people in the history that have done hard things and that succeeded. Maybe 10 were doing the same thing at the moment and only one succeeded, but one day someone's going to succeed.
Yeah, I see you succeeding right now is kind of the combination of those two things that you mentioned. So like someone who's pulling in the intent data, really helping the growth marketer pull the inbound leads in. They have a lot of data to go off of and really define like who is ready and who is a hand raiser. And they're doing some type of like AI SDR assistant work, but they have that backing of that data to do it. And I think some of those companies could be successful with that as they build up the amount of data they have and they get really clear about what works. It's going to take a lot of testing and it's going to have to refine for each individual company. So, but we've seen AI do a lot of things over the last 20 years. So who knows where we'll end up there. You guys have mentioned a bunch of people that you've worked with, like Nukes, who now I want to get on the podcast, and a lot of other partners. I'm curious to hear if there's any other companies you guys are really excited about, whether it's people you partner with or customers or people in a different area. Who do you think's doing cool things in tech right now?
Yeah, so we were thinking about one each.
I like it.
And basically the two of us, we really like these two companies. So I start with 11 Labs, not only because it's a customer and we're really happy to have them, but also because it's just crazy to grow that fast. I think they're around 100 millions of AOR within 4 years. This is just stunning. And because it's also crazy, like building, they said, text to speech. I think that some movies now for doubling in new languages, they will use their technology. It's really incredible what they do. So we are proud to have them. We're proud to support them.
Very cool.
And the other one is Tomorrow. It's a contract management software boosted by AI. And I think this is a space where the AI will have tons of impact because contracts are very tricky. It's a lot of text, which LLMs love. So it's really something that I'm expecting a lot from, helping the sales to build contracts faster, helping them to identify and fill it really quickly. So yeah, I'm very excited by the legal tech space, I'd say, especially with Tomorrow. Yeah.
I haven't heard of Tomorrow. I want to look into it. You know, I just love reading through a contract and understanding what it says to then convince my legal team what's okay and what's not okay. It's a really fun process, but that's super exciting that I haven't heard much about the legal space side, so I'll dig into it. What top 3 tips do you want to leave us with? Are you both going to do a top 3 tips or do you have a combined one?
We've got one.
I love it.
On sales compensation, of course, because...
Of course.
Yeah.
What else? So top 3 tips for building a great comp plan. First one, pay your reps monthly, even if the quota is quarterly or even yearly. It's not because the quota is yearly that you cannot pay monthly. The second one, which is quite linked, is pay super well your top performers. You need to use strong accelerators. And this could have been, by the way, the top 1 tip, because your top performers, they just make a too big difference in the end. So keep them, pay them well. And the third one is communication is more important than the plan itself. So you can build the best plan on paper. If the reps, they don't understand it,
Doesn't matter.
doesn't matter.
Yeah. Love it. Those are great
Yeah.
tips that kind of bring it back to like what's actually going to be impactful, and spending hours in a room trying to build a plan is not what's going to make it impactful. So, well, great. It was so good to have both of you on. Thanks for sharing all your expertise when it comes to sales and sales compensation.
Thank you very much for hosting us. We were really glad to be part of the show.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys.